I don't believe that we should ever have a good money again before we take the thing out of the hands of government.
Welcome back, everyone. It's the weekend edition. We're Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the websites by plebs. Nico, we are diving into the numbers. Let's do it.
Number time! Brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference ever, hosted in sunny Miami Beach, Florida. New speaker just announced, Jordan Peterson. That's right. Also, Adam Back, Michael Saylor, Saifedean, Jack Mallers, Nayib Bukele. It's going to be absolutely bonkers. And I have some good news. You can take advantage of the link down below for 10% off your tickets to Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 723,931. The Bitcoin price, 40,205. Chain rewrite days, 691. Total public Lightning capacity, 3,461.97. Another new all-time high, getting close to the effects. Anyways, Moscow time, 2487. Blocks to the halvening, 116,069. And the Samurai Whirlpool unspent capacity. What is Samurai Whirlpool? It is a coin, join, or collaborative spend service. And there is 4,371.60 BTC in that service right now.
Very nice.
The numbers, Nico.
The numbers looking
Weekend
good.
edition numbers.
I can't wait to hit 3,500 Lightning Network capacity so we could do our Lightning effects once again. But I think we should lower it down from 500 back to 250. So every 250 Bitcoin, right, we do our special Lightning sound and Lightning effects to celebrate. We haven't seen Satoshi the Bitcoin chicken in a while. For anyone who's new to this channel, Satoshi the Bitcoin chicken is a rubber chicken, and he only clucks when the price of Bitcoin reaches an all-time high, which it hasn't in a decent amount of time. But anyways, Phil, I got some interesting stuff to talk about during the numbers today. Check this out. Again, I've been warning you guys, and I'm going to keep warning you guys for the last... I've been warning you guys for the last 3 days, and I'm going to keep warning you guys for the foreseeable future, right? Because I'm telling you, things are heating up. Just to kind of give you, a summary of what that heat up is, you have the United States actively, the Foreign Asset Committee, senators essentially looking into Bitcoin potentially undermining the supremacy of the dollar in the world, right? You have, Nayib Bukele, on Twitter saying, leave us alone as a colony. You have Canada freezing bank accounts without any type of subpoena or anything like that, just emergency powers that, Trudeau has bestowed onto himself. Right, so things are starting to heat up. And remember, because Bitcoin is an escape valve, to use Christine Lagarde's own word, the head of the European Central Bank, right, they are going to go after it. They're going to demonize self-custody. They're going to demonize privacy. They're going to tell you that you need their systems of surveillance or else the world burns down. Perhaps, to give them the benefit of the doubt, perhaps that was true in the fiat system, but I do not believe that is true in the Bitcoin system. Bitcoin gives you the power, right, how it's designed to essentially transact with anybody around the world, snap of a finger, but only if you are the sole possessor of those keys. Anyways, this is Jesse Powell. He is the CEO and co-founder of Kraken.com, a major Bitcoin exchange, and he is responding to essentially the video that we played you yesterday of Christina Friedland. She is essentially the finance minister of Canada, and she was the one that announced the emergency orders. To quote it, I played you guys the video yesterday, so I'm not going to play it to you again. She says, the names of both individuals and entities as well as crypto wallets, right? Pay attention. It's not only she wants you to know that crypto wallets as well, even though we know that Bitcoin wallets can't be frozen, but again, right, the public perception is very important, right? Most people don't understand the full power of self-custody yet. Most people are still transitioning from the fiat matrix where they're used to someone else custodying their money, their wealth, and they're transitioning to Bitcoin. And the world of Bitcoin is radically different, right? This idea of essentially writing down a 12 or 24 word seed phrase, right? And then, putting that into a hardware wallet. People think, oh, if I lose the hardware wallet, I lose my money. They're not, they don't understand the seed phrase. Once you get it, it's much easier than the banking system, in my opinion. Right, but the transition is very difficult, and just put yourself in you know, a 50-year-old person's shoes or a 40-year-old person's shoes. It's literally you're speaking hieroglyphics to them. They don't understand. You're speaking ancient Egyptian, right? Anyways. She says the names of both individuals and entities as well as crypto wallets have been shared by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police with financial institutions, and accounts have been frozen and more accounts will be frozen. And this is, like I said, the CEO of Kraken. Due process is for plebs. Might makes right in Canada. If someone dissents, you just confiscate their wealth, revoke their licenses, exclude them from the financial system, kill their pets. No need to debate the law, policy, or even the rights when you have monopoly on violence. He's absolutely right. And someone responded and said, it's possible Kraken will be put in a position where told to freeze assets by police without your judicial consent, and you will probably comply. And Jesse Powell, he was very honest, to give him credit, right? Says 100% yes, it has/will happen. And 100% yes, we will be forced to comply. If you're worried about it, don't keep your funds with any centralized/regulated custodian. We cannot protect you. Get your coins/cash out and only trade peer-to-peer, right? And this is he is incentivized to tell you the exact opposite of that. And the fact that he's telling you really means, like I've been saying the last 3 days, things are going to heat up, right? And again, if you start connecting the dots, right? You have Warren Davidson, right? He's a congressman. He's a supporter of Bitcoin, essentially trying to pass a bill. I don't think it's going to pass, but essentially trying to pass a bill to protect self-custody. What does that tell you? It's a preemptive measure, right? You have Cynthia Loomis also trying to pass a bill to ban the United States government from implementing a central bank digital currency. What does that tell you? Bitcoin is a direct competition to central bank digital currency. It's better money, it's freedom money, it's deflationary money, and central bank digital currencies are literally the exact opposite of that, right? It's total government control, it's slavery money. It will allow them to censor you, it will allow them to dictate who you can and cannot transact with, right? It will allow them to easily implement a social credit system in the future that's not in the plans in the US currently. But again, if you look at history, if you give the government any type of power, they usually 99% of the time abuse it, right? So again, I don't think anybody in the world should have that much power. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. I don't care how moral you are of a person. If you accumulate that much power, right, you're going to fuck it up, right? So again, guys, take self-custody. It's not only me telling you. You have the CEO of one of the largest, shitcoin and Bitcoin exchanges telling you as well. That's the only way that you could protect yourself when the hammer, in my opinion, inevitably falls. Hopefully the transition isn't so quick, right? So there's a slow transition, right? If there's a slow transition, the bans and the hammer crackdowns and all those things, I don't think they will happen. I don't think they'll be as radical. But if it's a quick transition where the dollar is hyperinflating and people are just fleeing into assets, what do you think they're gonna do? Just look at history, right? For example, in the 1930s, during the Great Depression, right, 1933, the infamous 6102 order, FDR made it illegal for American citizens to own a metal bar, and that metal bar is gold, right? You were not allowed to own gold as an American citizen. So it's not out of the question for the government to save themselves, to confiscate and steal people's wealth, and in return give you a shit coin in which they could print more of, and that shit coin, of course, is called the dollar, right? When FDR passed that law, it was funny because he said the dollar was going to be backed by gold, and that was the deal with the devil, so to speak. It was only a couple decades later, right, in 1971, where Nixon took us off the gold standard because the US basically defaulted, right? And again, it's funny how this shit works, bro. So again, I think with Bitcoin we have a chance to break that cycle, but only if enough people take self-custody of their wealth, and in the process, you're defunding the beast, you're defunding the machine, so to speak. Phil?
Yeah, very well said. that tweet is kind of one of the reasons that Jesse Powell gets a pass from some of the Bitcoiners, right? Because he's very personal freedom oriented. And look, I mean, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't expect the CEO of an exchange to come straight out and say what he said. And to your point, I do applaud him very much so for doing that. It's, you know what? I think that we're only going to see this increase. I really do. I think it only gets worse. I mean, this is really scary stuff. After you showed that video yesterday of the deputy prime minister there, that lady, it got me thinking, like, so what happens, right, to everybody that donated with Tally Coin and everything like that? Like, how much tracking are they going to attempt to do? So unfortunately, this is a bit of an experiment. That's how I feel. I feel like this is a bit of an experiment, and we are going to quickly find out just how much the government is going to overreach, and just how quickly they're going to overreach. Today, we were discussing during the premiere of yesterday's video, we were talking about that Emergency Act. It actually hasn't been passed yet. They're going to be discussing this on Monday, and shout out to Lucky Red Fish. He's the one that actually sent me a video about this. So they haven't even passed this yet, and I want everyone to really think about this. They haven't passed this yet, but yet all the actions are being taken already. All the actions are being... It's as though that's it. It's going through. We're going to prosecute these people. We're going to start to round up all the information. So you see, it's not this business of, it's not this business of innocent, until proven guilty or anything like that. It's literally, we don't like what you're doing, and we're going to stop it. And to hell with the laws. We're not even waiting for this to pass. We're just going to start to bulldozer everything. So this is very scary. And as well, for this to be coming out of Canada, I mean, Nico, you've brought up a few times, right? I am Canadian. I grew up there up until my early 30s. And I never, ever thought that I would see, I mean, I understood, right? As a Canadian, you understand that there are many social programs, right? Canada is, quote unquote, more socialist than the US, okay? Because of the amount of taxes that they take and all the services that you fund and all of that stuff. But I really never had the feeling that the government had that totalitarian type of feel to it. And this situation with the truckers has brought that out. And I find this incredibly, I don't understand. Why didn't politicians just try to reach out to them? Like, why not just have a proper discourse? Why not have a discussion? I just feel like, I honestly feel like they gaslit the fucking thing, man. I honestly feel like they went and did that on purpose.
There's a
they escalated, Nico.
There's a cultural revolution, right? It's happening, right? It's not a coincidence that again, I'm not saying that the Black Lives Matter protests are justified or not justified. There is merit to them, right? But what we're saying, right, is that there's a double standard, right? Black Lives Matter protests, they burn down cities, they loot stores. They're called peaceful protests by the mainstream media. And then you have an actual peaceful protest, people in in kids in little castles, jump houses and stuff like that, people playing music, having fun, whatever. They are demonized by the media, right? That is not a coincidence. Why is this happening? Well, the Western elite essentially fell in love with the China model, and they're trying to implement a China light model in the United States, right? And in the United States, in Canada, in the Western world, right? And again, a lot of these leaders are captured by the party of Davos. It's not a coincidence, right? We've talked about this many times that, the Great Reset, Build Back Better, all these politicians are saying the same type of language, saying whatever. It's a centralized, it's a centralized kind of hive mind type thing. And at the end of the day, if you also look at history, and this is the last point I'm going to make, right? We are living through a fourth turning, right? Where the old institutions collapse and out of the ashes rise new institutions, right? And again, these fourth turnings usually last between 15 to 20 years, right? So it's really until, like we've always been saying, guys, things are going to get worse before they get better. And you protect yourself by taking Bitcoin into self-custody, running your own node, localizing, all of that good stuff that we've been preaching on this channel for over a year now, right? And things are just starting to heat up, and my suspicion is they will continue to heat up. And I'm not even going to mention essentially the status of the current fiat legacy system. They can't stop printing money. If they stop printing money, they collapse the stock market. The Fed is pushed into a corner. This is a fourth turning. That's literally what it is. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Fail.
Brought to you by Amber App. Check them out, amber.app. Low fees, fair spreads, smart automation. It is the easiest way to stack sats, a Bitcoin app by actual Bitcoiners. The link is down below.
Amber, the smart way to stack sats.
All right, this is the weekend edition. We've got a bunch of unrelated fails, but they are all horrendous fails nonetheless. Let's dive into it. The first one is very good point by Tone Vase here, and I'm going to thank Nico for putting this one in the chat, I believe. Okay, here we go. After calling out Coinbase for 7 years for being a bad actor for Bitcoin, true, and being blocked by Brian Armstrong, who is the CEO of Coinbase, 5 years ago, did not think it was possible for that awful company to be more hated. Congrats! Seriously. And what's he talking about? He's talking about this. That's right. Coinbase is a world...
Stop
Yes?
what you're doing right now. Go back.
Pajama time.
Go back. All right, sorry guys, a little pause. This is what the fuck I'm talking about, okay? This is what I'm talking about. This is the central bank digital currencies. There's no coincidence, there's no conspiracies. Check this out, okay? This is on the trending tab. China shows off its digital currency at the Winter Olympics. China shows off its central bank digital currency at the Winter Olympics. That is not a fucking coincidence. I'm sorry, Phil. I just had to say that. When you see Bitcoin in the trending tab, have you noticed that it's negative connotations? And this is positive. Have you noticed that? That's not a fucking coincidence. Anyways, I'm sorry, Phil.
They are such garbage. Back to Coinbase here, and its association with the World Economic Forum. So here we go, right? Coinbase is founded in 2012. Coinbase digital currency wallet and platform where merchants and consumers can transact. Okay, we all know what Coinbase does. Are we surprised that they are related to the World Economic Forum and are a partner in the World Economic Forum? No, we are not surprised. But some things that people may not know about Coinbase. Why are they such an enemy of Bitcoin? Number one, you know what? We'll just start with the simplest thing. Brian Armstrong and team have dragged their feet on implementing Lightning. Okay, that's the first thing. They've dragged their feet on implementing Lightning, number one. Number two, way back in 2017, 2018, they started to incentivize people with shitcoins to learn about quote-unquote cryptocurrency. So you would go through these BS Bobo kind of classes, and then they would give you some shitcoin and get you used to shitcoining. It's like, why not do Bitcoin education? Why not the one asset that actually provides the properties that people are looking for? Why not educate people about that? No, they wanted to educate people about shitcoins. Why? Because they are a shitcoin exchange, and that's where they make their money. Anyways, another reason, which is very important and often forgotten, okay, is why people hate Coinbase, is that back in 2019, they hired, let me rephrase that. They didn't hire, they bought a company called Neutrino. Now, what was Neutrino? Neutrino was essentially a group of hackers. And you know what? We're just going to dive into the article and let the article explain it a little bit better. Hacking team sells spyware to cops, corporations, and countries like Saudi Arabia. No wonder people are furious to learn they were also working for a major cryptocurrency exchange. Cryptocurrency users were not impressed when Coinbase, a major cryptocurrency exchange, partnered with former members of a notorious hack company that sells spyware to oppressive regimes. Now some users are fleeing. The delete Coinbase before they delete you, a major Bitcoin Twitter account wrote Friday. And back in 2019, a lot of people were retweeting the hashtag delete Coinbase. I ended up deleting Coinbase. back then. Anyways, let's continue on here. The Bitcoin community has historically been very close to internet freedom movements such as WikiLeaks, and Hacking Team represents the dark side of technology used to restrict freedoms instead of liberate humanity. Bitcoin evangelist Francis Pulio told the Daily Beast, Hacking Team and the surveillance apparatus of which Neutrino is a part of are natural enemies of Bitcoin users. Coinbase and Neutrino went public with their merger last month. That was back in 2019, in November 2019. Neutrino will help us prevent theft of funds from people's accounts, investigate ransomware attacks, and identify bad actors, Coinbase said in its announcement. It will also help us bring more cryptocurrencies and features to more people while helping ensure compliance with local laws and regulations. Think about what I just said to you at the beginning of this article, how this company was building ransomware and providing information to police and oppressive regimes. And here's Coinbase touting their capabilities. Anyways, this is just absolute garbage. It doesn't surprise me, before we move on to the next fail, it does not surprise me one bit that Coinbase is involved with the World Economic Forum. We've also shown the Ethereum ties to the World Economic Forum. We've shown the A16Z ties to the World Economic Forum. Look, this is an octopus that has tentacles all over the world. Okay, like we've seen this picture of like the Federal Reserve being an octopus that goes and strangles the country. I see the World Economic Forum as the octopus that strangles the whole entire world. That's really what I see. And this does not surprise me. And it's just another disappointing nail in the coffin for Coinbase. Before we move on to the next fail, Nico, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, look, why is Coinbase doing this? Because they're following their own incentives. Shitcoins need the state to survive, okay? They just do, because they're centralized, so they need to get in bed with the people in power in order to make sure that they do not get shut down, right? And I suspect there's going to be an evil alliance between the failing fiat system and shitcoinery to essentially try to, sell you, right, on the fact that we don't have to move away from a proof of stake system. We don't have to move from a centralized system in which human beings could manipulate the monetary policy, right? And all those things are natural enemies of Bitcoin. I think Armstrong made a terrible decision putting his bet on shitcoins. I know that Coinbase only has around 4,000 Bitcoin. Just to kind of give you a reference, Michael Saylor has 125,000 Bitcoin, right? So a company that was founded in early 2013, right, has less Bitcoin than a company that started stacking recently, right? Then
2 years ago.
Exactly. Now we're entering an era where people are finally seeing the benefits of Bitcoin. So you have Bitcoin only exchanges popping up like crazy, like Strike, like Cash App, like Swan, like Amber, right? So you have all these exchanges popping up that are Bitcoin only, and Armstrong already made his bet. So he has no other choice but to get in bed with the state to make sure that part of his business does not get rug pulled, right? And, and at the end of the day, right, in this moment in history, a lot of the global power is centralized in Davos, Switzerland, headquarters of the World Economic Forum. That's like the think tank of the globalist elites, right? And, he has to get in bed with them. That's just a matter of fact, right? Whereas Bitcoiners, we could give two fucks, right? These are natural enemies of Bitcoin, and there's going to be an evil alliance between the two in the next decade. And we'll be covering it for you guys, but it's going to be, like I've been saying, a hell of a fight. Anyways, Phil, what's the next fail?
All right, let's go. Now, Nico's going 2 for 2 here today. All right, so here we go. At Roman Trading, want another laugh? This guy claiming to be pushing millions got a notification to add real money to his demo account. That's right, guys. The fleecing never stops. Okay, the fleecing never stops. So here you go. To start trading, transfer funds to your wallet. These guys are so wrecked. I don't understand.
To be fair,
yes.
Right? Go down.
Yeah, I will.
By the way, this is one of the biggest YouTube accounts. It's called The Moon, right? I think, there's the video. Okay, so there is proof. Yeah, because I didn't want to say, oh, someone could have just superimposed it, but apparently there is proof. But I mean, look, again, guys, we tell you about BitBoy, we tell you about the moon, we tell you about these channels because they use titles like, this is the next best crypto, this is going to make you a millionaire, this is going to make you, this is the next Bitcoin, this is the next thing. But these people don't have your best interest at heart, right? They're literally,
I'm sorry.
Oh my god. I know, I'm watching it play. Okay, whatever. Listen, so I don't want to talk shit about content creators because we know how hard it is to create content consistently, but at the end of the day, I don't think these people have your best interest at heart. And again, don't trust people on the internet, but at the same time, this is why we stay away from shitcoins. We're not promising any of you that you're going to get rich quick overnight. We're not saying that. We don't talk about the price. We're focusing on the actual revolution that is happening, which is the separation between money and state, right? And only Bitcoin, because it's the only one that's sufficiently decentralized, can do that. All these channels are a distraction, and I'm telling you, 99% of people that trade shitcoins will have less Bitcoin versus if they just bought Bitcoin and held on to it. DCA, long time preference, fiat mine, right? In your fiat job as much as possible, put as much of that as responsibly possible into Bitcoin, wait 4 to 5 years, and you're going to notice a difference, right? But again,
Big difference.
The shitcoin incentives are very, very alluring, right? Because you see Alana jump up 40x and you're like, wow, if only I bought that thing. Again, only the insiders, only the people that are getting into these sales pre-ICO are really the ones benefiting from these things, right? So anyways, just be careful. Focus on the signal. All of this is just noise. Anyways, Phil.
Yeah, it's usually just, you're holding a whole bunch of bags of losers and hoping to God that one of them goes through the roof. And essentially that's what it is. You're hoping that one of those 20 or 30 shitcoins that you hold or whatever it is, you're hoping that one of them is going to do the 20,000x to make up for all the other mistakes.
Yes.
And it's just not happening. Anyways, let's continue on. All right, so we were tagged by fellow Bitcoiner Fritz. Let's take a look at this. Please add this to the Daily Fail. Can't stop laughing. So here we go. This is Bloomberg Crypto, Melania Trump. What's going on? Money that won Melania Trump's NFT came from Melania Trump's wallet. The source of the fund for the winning bid in Melania Trump's first NFT auction appears to be the creators of the project themselves. Is anybody really surprised?
I mean, it happens over and over again. You hear the same freaking story, the same hype, the same bullshit. All of this is noise, guys. Focus on the signal, right? And if you still don't believe me, the World Economic Forum supports NFTs. They support Ethereum. And you know what they're completely against? Bitcoin. Ask yourself, why? Why is that the case? And that is because they cannot control it, and Bitcoin makes it so that everyone is equal. If you want to buy some Bitcoin, if you want to make some Bitcoin, you're going to have to mine it just like everybody else. You're going to have to get in line and buy it like everybody else, right? When Michael Saylor had to stack the 124,000 Bitcoin, he had to do it slowly but surely. He had to get in line, right, and stack that Bitcoin slowly so that he wouldn't pump up the price too much, right? So again, Bitcoin levels the playing fields with the elites. They absolutely hate it. It drives them crazy. So they're trying to peddle you garbage. And look, and again, I don't like to talk shit about YouTube content creators, but dude, in a Bugatti, that's some fiat type short time preference behavior. That's all I gotta say. Fucking opt out, bro. Low time preference, and watch your life fucking change dramatically. You will be happy for it. You'll feel better. I'm telling you. Anyways, Phil.
You're gonna tell me he didn't. You're gonna tell me that he didn't film that sitting at a dealership.
I don't know, dude.
You know
I don't like to talk shit about content creators, dude. Let them do it. Look,
it doesn't matter. It's not even talking shit.
It's what you told me, bro. Everyone's got to do what they got to do. Float their boat, whatever. I just advocates for something different. And again, a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, but the shitcoin's like, trust me, Phil and I have been at this for 6 years. Everyone starts shitcoining. I started shitcoining. Phil started shitcoining. We both would have more Bitcoin today if we just went into Bitcoin directly, focused on Bitcoin instead of the shitcoining. Remember this, shitcoins are literally designed to steal Bitcoin from you and enrich the founders. That is literally what they're for. They're giant Ponzi schemes. Anyways, Phil?
It goes back to the whole thing with Melania and the NFT. It just made me think of McDonald's, and it made me think of the Beanie Babies. And it just reminded me that when you get to one of these peak in the market, in market cycles for something that just makes absolutely no sense, everybody starts to have one. So everybody has NFTs, okay? Like everybody is going to go and produce one of these things for free. Now, the other piece to this is that back, there was I think it was maybe 15, it could be 15, 18 years ago or something like that. But when tech decks first came out, the same type of thing happened. All these restaurants started offering them for kids. And before you knew it, everybody had one. So my point is that there's a big difference between the qualities of Bitcoin and the lack of qualities from all of these shitcoin affinity scams. And make no mistake, NFTs are really just shitcoins. They're just shitcoins that really don't even have a white paper. They're not even JPEGs. Somebody today in the chat referred to them as a URL. I'm not even sure if it's actually a URL. I think it's just a unique hash ID. So maybe it's a combination of the URL and a hash ID. Either way, the point is that these things are going to be worth astronomically nothing. And nobody, and I know right now it's very hard to see that. It's very difficult to see that. But in 6 months, it's going to be a lot easier.
No, I totally agree. But hey, listen, dude. Look, even as much as Phil and I are warning you, most likely you will ignore us, and most likely you will buy shit coins because you think, right? And I promise you will come back to this channel once you wreck yourself and say, "Oh snap, I get it now." But anyways, listen, everyone has to pay a price of tuition. That's just kind of the way it goes. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Meme Review. Brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's stories, articles, comics by actual Bitcoiners, and they're scarce. There's only 1,000 copies made per volume. This is the artwork for volume 10. Absolutely beautiful. Get your print of Citadel 21 today. All right, guys, I told you in the beginning of the episode, things are warming up. Joe Biden to issue a wide-ranging executive order on regulating Bitcoin and crypto next week. Now, unfortunately for them, and governments are going to learn this very soon, right, is that you can't regulate Bitcoin. You could regulate the on and off ramps, but you can't regulate Bitcoin. Bitcoin's unregulatable. Anyways, they don't want you to know that. Anyways, Bitcoin is internet money used by criminals on the dark web. 2017, price of Bitcoin is $3,800. 2022, Bitcoin is not an inflation hedge. Price is $38,000. 2027, Bitcoin is a threat to the US dollar and will be outlawed. $380,000. 2032, I probably should have bought some Bitcoin at 38K, $3,800,000, and it's a total conflict. And I completely agree, right? Again, why are we relatively, I'm very confident that we will win this war for freedom and Bitcoin will become the global reserve asset. And the reason for that is simple. It has better incentives than fiat, than central bank digital currencies. It incentivizes people much more and does not require coercion. Central bank digital currencies will require coercion, right? So it will require violence. It will require force. Bitcoin is just incentives alone. Bitcoin is just like, okay, I'm going to buy Bitcoin because it's better for my future and saving, right? So again, anyways, moving on. This is the meme review. This is RD. I'm very repped up today. I apologize. Anyways, this is by RD. Not a clue. Gold bugs. Look, I've been around the world. Okay, whatever it is, I'll understand. There's nothing about this I understand. I get it. Okay, it's a deep meme. All right, moving on. Next one is by Boca Bitcoin Bros. Shout out to you, brother. Okay, simply Bitcoin, best meme. Thanks for the tag. Banks, truckers, Bitcoin, absolutely right. Yeah, when Trudeau, taking him out of the system, people are going to find, again, not by us like we are in the, in privileged countries that are able to buy Bitcoin through the, the fiat system, right? People in countries, especially in Latin American countries where there aren't these exchanges and these, complicated, complex, financial rails, people just buy Bitcoin peer-to-peer out of necessity. And these truckers, if they've been debanked, there's only one other system that just in open arms says, hey, come over here. We'll love to take you in. Right? So I think this meme really represents that. Anyways, this is by Carl Merger, The Changing World Order. It's time for Bitcoin. There are 3.5 billion smartphones on Earth. All of them could hold Bitcoin. None of them could hold gold. That is very, very deep. Very, well very done. True. And again, while the sheep are waiting for Putin, the commies are waiting for civil war. World Economic Forum, come on, do something. Dude, they're waiting for that shit to turn violent so they can say, we told you so. Mm-hmm. Absolutely right. I'm going to give it a very special score because I feel like this today. I'm going to give it a blueberry that I found under my desk. Yeah. What about you, Phil?
How old is that blueberry?
I don't know. That's a very good question.
Is it still soft?
Yep, it is still soft.
Can't be that old. All right. Well, anyways, look, I wasn't joking when I said that I was going to get these, and I did. They arrived last night. The orange/red FUD dice. That's right.
Wow. Wait, read me some of the FUD. Okay. Read three of them. Read three of them.
Okay. Three FUDs. Here we go. All right. We've got, here we go. Climate, energy waste, inflexible.
Okay.
Helps China.
I
never heard that one. So Bitcoin helps China.
Well, I think that's when it was the majority of the hash rate was in China.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So maybe that's what they meant. But anyways, dude, I need to get me a pair of those. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, we want to know if you agree with our scores. If you disagree, let us know down in the comment section. And, of course, make sure to subscribe to us on alternative video platforms because we do talk shit about the World Economic Forum, like Rumble.com, and our personal favorite, they don't censor there, BitcoinTV.com, and join our Telegram group. Keep up with us and drop us some memes to review on the Bitcoin meme review. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the daily news. Brought to you by Cloaks.com. They make the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the famous 3D printed Bitcoin grenade. Opens up, you put your favorite hardware wallet in there, and also you can get this in any custom color your heart desires. That's right. You want to make it pink? You could do that. And you could take advantage of the link down below for 5% off anything on the store, CryptoCloaks.com. All right, guys. So we talked about this yesterday. And today I want to talk about why some people in the U.S. government are reacting this way. And just to kind of give you, we summarized this yesterday. We talked about it, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read this paragraph, the last sentence, right? I'm going to read two versions of it. One that I only highlighted the key words, and then the one that they want you to read, which is the whole sentence. Ready? El Salvador recognizing Bitcoin as official currency opens the door for money laundering cartels and undermines U.S. interests, said Dr. Cassidy. If the United States wishes to combat money laundering and preserve the role of the dollar as a reserve currency of the world, we must tackle this issue head on. Now I'm going to read you the highlighted version of that. El Salvador recognizing Bitcoin as the official currency opens the door, undermines U.S. interests. If the United States wishes to preserve the role of the dollar as a reserve currency of the world, we must tackle this issue head on, right? You know, just get all the other bullshit out of there. Really, just get straight to the point. Now, why are they saying this? Okay, the developments around the world, right? You have news from the Ukraine. Ukraine passes law legalizing crypto as threat of war looms. And this is even more signal, and I'll get to even more signal in a second by this article from the Wall Street Journal, but let's cover this first. This is by Zero Hedge, right? As part of the decisive response, administration has said it has its arsenal as a maximalist nuclear option, which would see Russia off from the international SWIFT payment settlement system. For anybody who doesn't know what SWIFT is, that is how banks send money, you know, around the world, right? That is the only option before Bitcoin, right? That's the one I want you to pay attention to. And of course, the United States controls that. So it allows the United States to essentially weaponize the legacy financial system. So when you hear presidents say, we're going to sanction Russia, we're going to sanction Afghanistan, we're going to sanction Venezuela, we're going to sanction Cuba, it actually hurts those countries tremendously because it severely debilitates their ability to essentially transact with the rest of the world, right? Anyways, but Moscow was quick to respond Wednesday with the finance minister Anton Suvlov referring his country has prepared alternatives which ensure such U.S. sanctions, while yet unpleased, would remain non-fatal. We expect the country's financial system to continue to focus inwards as part of the Fortress Russia strategy and advance digital and fintech sovereignty. The comment about advancing digital and fintech sovereignty is particularly interesting in light of President Putin's October 2021 statements, wherein he rattled American financial officials after hinting that cryptocurrencies could be weaponized as a dollar replacement. Now you know why they're trying to release this type of stuff. Anyways, at the time, the Russian president discussed potential use cases of cryptocurrencies in a CNBC interview following a plenary session of the Russian Energy Week Forum, noting that while he considers cryptocurrency crude and underdeveloped, it could someday be used instead of the US dollar to trade with. Anyways, I'm sure that gives heart attacks to a lot of people in the swamp of DC that have been so used to standing and weaponizing the dollar for their own best interest. I wouldn't even say the best interests of the American people. I would say mostly the best interests of the bureaucrats and whatever fucking crazy ideas they come up with. But anyways, this is even more signal, and I think this scares them even more than the comments by Putin, right? And I think this is really what led to this, right? And this article directly addresses what's happening in El Salvador. The name of the article is called, "Can Bitcoin Be a National Currency? El Salvador is Trying to Find Out." Came out February 16, 2022. The article goes on to say, President Nayib Bukele called Canadian video game developer and Bitcoin enthusiast Samson Mao on stage at a beachside Bitcoin convention in November that had the flair of a rock concert. It really did. In front of a screen embezzled with the phrase "Feel the Bit," Mr. Mao unveiled the tiny Central American country's novel international finance idea, a plan to raise $1 billion by issuing the world's first Bitcoin-backed sovereign bond. The crowd of a mix of mostly, it says crypto, but I'd like to add Bitcoin advocates, Bukele fans, and a few curious locals erupted in loud cheers as they filmed the event on their smartphones. We covered that when it came out. But anyways, the article goes on to say the bond sale will test whether developing economies can skirt traditional Wall Street banks and lenders of last resort, such as the International Monetary Fund. So when this comes out, this is why they're worried. This is why they're worried. I'll read it again. The bond sale will test whether developing economies can skirt traditional Wall Street banks and lenders of last resort, such as the International Monetary Fund, which we know the United States controls. It's based in Washington, D.C., which will often impose austerity conditions in favor of funds from growing pool of investors in the $1 trillion world of Bitcoin. So far, the reaction has been divided. Divided by who? Divided between the IMF has criticized the El Salvador's move to Bitcoin. Well, no shit, obviously. Anyways, saying its price swings are too risky for the stable economy and that Mr. Bukele's policies are pushing indebtedness to an unstable path. Okay, that paragraph is so full of shit. Bitcoin was less than $1 when it was created, and now it's sitting at what, $40,000? What are you talking about unstable? It's the best appreciating asset ever.
That's too unstable, though, Nico.
It's too unstable. Anyway, the planned bond, meanwhile, will trade on a platform restricted for Americans. Again, signal there. Limiting their participation, El Salvador's traditional sovereign bonds were the worst performers of emerging markets last year, trading at a steep discount and offering yields nearly 17% because of rising default risk. The offering of the Bitcoin-backed bond, which the administration has dubbed the Volcano Bond, is slated for as early as this month or March. The bond would provide US dollars to the country and must be paid back in dollars. Anyways, the IMF, which is in protracted negotiations over $1.3 billion financial aid program for the country, has called on Mr. Bukele's government to ditch Bitcoin status as a national currency, saying its price rings make it too risky for consumers or to be used as collateral for sovereign bonds. That, again, bullshit. Bitcoin on average, look, no one has ever lost money if they've held on to Bitcoin for 4 years. So that paragraph is a lie. It's a flat out lie. Don't believe me. You can verify it yourself. Check out the price of Bitcoin 4 years ago, right? And see, if you would have bought Bitcoin 4 years ago, you would not have lost money, even at the tippity top. Anyways, With Bitcoin, the stakes are higher. The bond can lure investors who are searching for higher yields or aren't allowed to invest directly in Bitcoin due to regulations, the IMF noted in a recent report. But the crypto asset lacks the economic fundamentals to support its value, and it trades entirely on sentiment. That is not true. Bullshit. Propaganda. Its sharp price swings could increase debt servicing costs or force the government to use El Salvador's limited foreign currency reserves to cover a loss in value, economists say. Yet those economists are the same economists that told you there was going to be no inflation. Anyways, since his election, gang violence has fallen sharply. Alleged after he made a secret truce with them, according to U.S. officials. Again, right? All the bullshit, all the criticism comes from the U.S. officials or the IMF. Anyways, but if you actually focus on the paragraph, since his election, gang violence has fallen sharply. Anyways, the IMF estimates the economy grew 10% last year. Thanks to sound money management of the pandemic, his administration aggressively pursued COVID-19 vaccines early, helping Mr. Bukele hit approval ratings above 80% polls. That made him the most popular leader in Latin America at a time when most incumbents were being vilified. So let me translate all of that, take the propaganda out. Gang violence fell sharply. He grew his economy by 10%, and he has an approval rating of 80%. Just saying. Anyways, here's a picture of, the volcano bond thing. We scroll down. And again, more signal, right? The planned bond will be the first sovereign debt security to trade like a crypto token on the Bitfinex platform. According to Mr. Mao, it won't be available on usual bond markets. U.S. citizens and businesses are barred from using Bitfinex. Mr. Mao said Americans could invest through broker-dealers outside the U.S. or through offshore funds that participate in the bond. Last year, Bitfinex, operator of Bitfinex, reached a settlement to pay $18 million in penalties to the New York Attorney General's office after prosecutors accused the company of hiding $800 million in losses through fraudulent financial statements. When nations issue debt, their bonds are typically backed by New York or Luxembourg laws that grant creditors some international protections. The Bitcoin bond will be the first security to be structured under El Salvadorian law. According to Mr. Mao, the government is expected to unveil legislation soon that will regulate the Bitcoin bonds. Do you see what's happening here? This is a complete circumvention of the legacy financial system. That is why they're releasing statements like this. This scares the living shit out of them. And unless they invade El Salvador or do the things that we talked about yesterday, right? They have a very difficult problem on their hands because, again, they're making all these claims now that there's potential risks, that this thing could be dangerous. But what happens if it works out? We know it will because it's backed by Bitcoin. What are they going to say then? What excuses are they going to come up with then? It highlights the failures of their system. That is why those senators, that bipartisan effort, released that statement. That is why you have Biden scrambling to get an FBI task force. You have essentially announcements. We are going to release an executive order to regulate Bitcoin and shitcoins. They are scared. We are winning. This is what is happening. They're having a meltdown. They don't know how to kill this thing, and they want to really badly. Anyways, Phil?
I got stuck. I as you were reading through those articles, I got stuck on the Bitcoin lacks economic fundamentals. This is what I got stuck on. Notice how they don't provide any definition whatsoever as to what those economic fundamentals are. But let's be honest, right? What economic fundamentals does Bitcoin really lack? The fundamentals they're talking about is the ability for them to produce and control the network and the issuance of the currency. So clearly Bitcoin lacks those economic fundamentals. And the funny thing is, the mindfuck of all of this is that someone's going to read this, right? Very educated people, they're going to read this. They're going to go, it's very true. They don't even know why they're going to think this. right? They don't even know why they're going to think this.
It's the Wall Street
psychotic.
It's the Wall Street Journal. It's economists. They must be right. Meanwhile, these economists are the same people that told you there was going to be no inflation. Right? These are the same fucking people that are telling you all of this bullshit. Bitcoin still not dead. Even after a China ban, even after the fork wars, this thing is constantly getting attacked. It's designed to be attacked. And every day, every 10 minutes on average that a block keeps churning in, this thing gets stronger. The hash rate reaches an all-time high. The amount of nodes on the network reaches an all-time high. You have public companies putting this on their balance sheet. You have countries adopting this as legal tender. And they still have the fucking nerve to try to sell you that bullshit. That was bullshit. They are terrified, and they don't know how to kill this thing. Anyways, but like I said in the earlier part of the show, like an animal pushed into a corner, that is when they're the most dangerous. That is when they will lash out the most. And how you protect yourself from that is taking Bitcoin into self-custody. And I'm going to keep saying that for the foreseeable future. Take your fucking Bitcoin off the exchange and put it onto a hardware wallet. Anyways, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. Brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out, cyphersafe.io. It's the best place to store your Bitcoin seed. Check out the Cypher Wheel or the all-new Cypher Grid. Comes complete with punch tool, tamper-resistant wire, and some cool stickers. All right, everyone, we've got Elector's version 0.9.5 that was released. It's down below in the show notes. All right, guys, don't forget to check us out on our audio-only platforms. I'm talking about Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. Before we go, if you like Phil and I's hoodies, we wear different ones, or we try to wear different ones every day. Check out Represent. I'm going to put the website down below, and you can take advantage of the link down below for 15% off anything on the store, representltd.com. Guys, if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the catastrophic fails from the globalists and the Bitcoin news from the plebe perspective, definitely consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin. Have an awesome weekend. See you Monday, guys, for a brand new episode.
Nico's not joking. Take your coins off the exchanges now.